It's been 9 years since Putnam County deputies found an 88-year-old man's headless body in his garage. His wife's body was found in Lake Oconee just days later.
The world has witnessed many tragic events, with some cases leaving a chilling impact on both the victims' families and society.
A shocking new twist in the hunt for the killer of those two Indiana teenagers 5 years ago. It centers on this man, Ron Logan, who owned the property where the bodies of Abby Williams and Libby German were found.
Among these, certain unsolved murder mysteries remain deeply unsettling.
Nearly 24 years ago, a young life was tragically cut short on a quiet road on the Big Island. Despite years of investigation, his killer was never found.
These cases not only defy the logical solutions we crave, but also force us to question the darkest corners of human nature.
It marks 2 years since an Orlando couple was murdered in front of their young son, and police have yet to make any arrests.
Now Investigates learned the case is one of hundreds of unsolved murders in Central Florida, including some that are decades old.
In this script, we delve into 5 such unsolved murder mysteries that have sent shockwaves across the world, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions and lingering fear. Number 1. The mysterious murder of Jodi and Soren. It was Valentine's Day, 2007, when Jodi and Soren's parents arrived at her San Diego apartment, a routine visit that would end in terror. Despite Jodi being mentally disabled, she was capable of living independently. Her parents' daily check-ins were a safeguard to ensure her well-being, but that day would be different. After knocking and receiving no answer, Jodi's father, Art, broke down the door to find an unsettling scene. His daughter was in the midst of an intimate encounter with an unknown man. Art, initially thinking it was an awkward situation, asked the man to leave. But when the man exited, the darkness of the apartment hid a far more sinister sight. Jodi was dead, beaten, strangled, and left in her own room, without a clue as to who the man was or why he would harm her. Over the years, the investigation ran cold. Advances in forensic science, including DNA phenotyping and forensic genealogy, eventually brought a name into focus: David Brito, a former Oceanside resident. However, Brito passed away in 2011, taking with him the answers to why Jodi was murdered. Even now, questions remain. Did Jodi know her killer? What was his motive? Number 2. The brutal slaying of Missy Bevers. On April 18, 2016, in Midlothian, Texas, Missy Bevers arrived at Creekside Church for an early morning fitness class. Little did she know, her life was about to be stolen by a killer dressed in full SWAT gear. Surveillance footage captured a shadowy figure entering the church with a hammer, ready to commit an unspeakable act. When one of Missy's students arrived, they found her body, lifeless, with multiple stab wounds to her head and chest. The killer had attacked her with brutal precision, yet left behind no clear motive. The footage offered a tantalizing clue, a distinctive walking gait, yet the killer's identity remained a mystery. Scrutiny initially fell on Missy's husband, Brandon Bevers, but his alibi checked out. The investigation continued, but the idea of a robbery seemed improbable as Missy's diamond wedding ring was left untouched. Even stranger, the intruder made no attempt to steal anything valuable. A potential suspect emerged: Randy, Missy's father-in-law, whose behavior in the days following the murder aroused suspicion. But without concrete evidence, the case remains unsolved, leaving the Bevers family in a constant state of uncertainty. Number 3. The chilling death of Nicole Smith. June 7, 1995, started like any other day for 14-year-old Nicole Smith of Southwest Atlanta. Walking with her sister and a friend, Nicole realized she had forgotten her book report and decided to take a shortcut through the woods. That decision led to her death. A man ambushed her, assaulting and shooting her twice in the head, leaving her body behind without a trace of the killer. Years later, another girl was attacked in a similar fashion, but this time she managed to survive. The DNA collected from both crimes linked the same perpetrator, yet no arrests have been made. Despite detailed descriptions of the attacker, the killer remains unidentified. Nicole Smith's death, like so many others, is a haunting reminder of how fleeting life can be and how elusive justice can become. Number 4. Candace Hiltz. Candace Hiltz was a prodigy. By the time she was 11, she was doing calculus. But at 16, her life would take a tragic turn when she was murdered in cold blood. In August 2006, Candace's mother found her daughter's lifeless body in their Colorado home, wrapped in a green comforter, with multiple gunshot wounds to her face. What made this case particularly disturbing was the involvement of 2 local officers, Deputy Robert Dodd and Deputy Driscoll. These men had been involved in confrontations with Candace in the past, and their mishandling of evidence raised suspicions. A subsequent discovery by a civilian in 2017 unearthed police uniforms and case files belonging to Dodd, pointing to a potential cover-up. Despite all the evidence pointing to police misconduct, no one has been held accountable for Candace's murder, and the mystery of who killed her remains unsolved. Number 5. The Sewan Murders. In the small village of Sewan, Switzerland on Pentecost weekend in 1976, a brutal and senseless crime would forever scar the community. 5 people were ruthlessly murdered in what seemed like an execution-style killing. The victims included Elsa Segrist, aged 62, her husband Eugene, aged 63, Eugene's 80-year-old sister Anna, and their 2 adult sons, Emmanuel, aged 52, and Max Westhauser, aged 49. The method was chillingly efficient. A Winchester rifle was used, and 13 rounds were fired, with 11 of those hitting the victims in the head. The final 2 shots were fired into their bodies, ensuring no one survived. The crime scene was discovered on June 6, 1976, when a passerby noticed something amiss. Upon arriving, the authorities found 4 of the bodies inside the house, while the 5th, Anna's body, was wrapped in a carpet and left on the terrace. The brutality of the murders sent shockwaves through Sewan, and the police launched an extensive investigation to identify the killer. Initial suspicions focused on 2 possible suspects, Carl Dozer and Adolphe Johnny Segrist. Carl Dozer was a man whose name surfaced when a Winchester rifle, similar to the one used in the killings, was found in his possession in 1996. The gun was an imitation of an Italian Winchester with a short barrel. It was speculated that this could have been the weapon used in the murders. Carl claimed to have bought it at a flea market, but no substantial evidence linked him directly to the crime. Despite the strong circumstantial evidence, the police couldn't find a clear motive or direct connection between Dozer and the victims, leaving many unanswered questions. The second suspect, Adolphe Johnny Segrist, was a relative of the victims and had a potential motive for the crime. 3 weeks before the killings, Adolphe allegedly sought out ammunition for his Italian Winchester rifle, asking a business acquaintance for extra heavy lead bullets. He had told the man he was getting the bullets as a gift for someone else, but this detail raised suspicions, especially when police later found styrofoam heads shot through at Adolphe's apartment. Though Adolphe was briefly arrested, he was later released due to a lack of evidence. Despite these troubling clues, no one could conclusively prove his involvement in the murder. Adolphe's behavior was considered strange, and it was suggested that he might have been seeking revenge on Eugene, possibly because of past conflicts, but this theory was never fully confirmed. As time passed, the investigation into the Sewan murders grew colder, with police unable to make any arrests. The case remained unsolved, and many in Sewan believed the crime would never be fully understood. Though Carl Dozer and Adolphe Johnny Segrist remain the primary suspects, the absence of direct evidence and the passing of time has left the mystery unresolved. The Sewan murders continue to be one of Switzerland's most baffling and tragic unsolved crimes, haunting the village and leaving behind a dark, unresolved chapter in its history. The mysteries we've uncovered today are just the tip of the iceberg, and if you're hooked on these chilling tales, you're not alone. But here's the thing, the deeper you dive, the more twisted the stories become. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Get ready for a mind-bending journey into the twisted mind of history's most notorious serial killers. It's a video that will haunt you long after it ends. But here's the catch. Our next video is dropping soon, and trust me, you won't want to be left behind. The stories we explore are unlike anything you've heard before, revealing the darkest corners of the human psyche. So, if you're not subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and make sure you're the first to experience these gripping tales as we unravel the truth that's been hidden for far too long. You won't regret it. Don't miss out. See you in the next video.